Papa Wale was a man who loved God. He prayed every day. He trusted God with his whole heart. Papa Wale had a wife and 3 children. They lived together in a small house. They were not rich, but they were happy. There was always food to eat. There was laughter in the house. There was peace in the house. Papa Wale was thankful to God. He believed everything was okay. Papa Wale had always believed that a man's worth was tied to responsibility. Not wealth, just responsibility. To wake up every morning knowing your children would eat, your wife would not worry, and your home would stand in peace. For many years, that had been his life. He was not rich, but his house lacked nothing essential. Food was regular. Laughter filled the evenings. His children respected him, not because he demanded it, but because they trusted him. Even within the extended family, his voice carried weight. When Papa Wale spoke, people listened. Then life changed. It didn't change suddenly. It slipped, quietly, painfully, like sand through open fingers. A business deal failed. Another opportunity promised much, but delivered nothing. Savings dried up. Debts grew teeth. Each morning he woke with hope. Each night he slept with unanswered questions. Still he prayed. Still he believed things would turn around quickly. They didn't. Slowly, the responsibility he once carried with confidence shifted to his wife, Mama Wale. At first he was grateful. She was strong. She stepped up without complaint. She started trading more seriously, leaving early and returning late. Papa Wale told himself it was temporary. But temporary stretched into months, and months into a year. That was when things began to change inside the house. It started subtly. "Dear, please help me boil water. I need to take my bath quickly." He did it without complaint. Later, it became, "Please help me go to the market. I'm tired." Then it became normal. Papa Wale found himself running errands, cooking occasionally, sweeping, fetching, waiting. None of these things were shameful on their own, but together they formed a quiet message he could not ignore. He was no longer the head. His children noticed before he did. Wale, Yemi, and Bolu now ran to their mother for pocket money. When they needed something urgently, they didn't ask their father anymore. They asked Mama. Their respect didn't vanish overnight, but it thinned. Papa Wale felt it in the way they spoke, in the way they looked past him, in the way silence followed his instructions. At night, when the house grew quiet, he prayed more. Sometimes softly, sometimes on his knees, sometimes with words, sometimes without any words at all. Eventually, Mama Wale asked him to move into the guest room, not with anger, not with cruelty, just exhaustion. "Your prayers keep me awake," she said. "If I don't sleep, how can I go out and take care of this family?" He had no argument. So Papa Wale moved. That night, like many nights, he lay awake staring at the ceiling of the guest room. The clock glowed faintly in the darkness. 3:55 a.m., less than 3 hours before morning. His heart was heavy. His body was tired. His thoughts would not rest. He remembered that there was no food in the house. The previous day, Mama Wale had returned home looking discouraged. She said she didn't sell anything. There was no money left to buy food. What will the children eat in the morning? The question pressed hard against his chest. Even though he had already finished his quiet time, Papa Wale slid off the bed, knelt on the cold floor, and prayed again. This prayer was different. There were no long sentences, no carefully chosen words, just surrender, just desperation, just faith clinging to God when pride had nothing left to offer. He did not notice when the clock moved from night into morning. By the time he became aware of his surroundings again, voices were drifting in from the kitchen. "Daddy!" It was Wale. "You didn't tell us you bought rice yesterday. If I had known, I would have cooked rice for myself instead of sleeping hungry." Papa Wale froze. Rice? He wanted to answer, but he was still on his knees. He whispered a final "Amen," stood up slowly, and walked toward the kitchen. What he saw stopped him in his tracks. Right in the middle of the kitchen was a large bag of rice. Not a cup, not a bowl, a full bag. Beside it were 2 4-liter bottles of vegetable oil, packets of seasoning cubes, a keg of palm oil, ground pepper, yam flour, dried fish, different kinds, dry meat, enough to last the family for days. Everything, not scattered, not hidden, arranged, as if someone had carefully stocked the kitchen. Papa Wale's heart began to pound. "I thought your mother said she had no money yesterday," he asked quietly. Wale shrugged, already cooking noodles. "Mama didn't buy them," he said. "When has she ever bought things like this?" Papa Wale turned slowly. "If your mother didn't buy them," he said, almost to himself, "and I didn't buy them, who did?" No one answered. Mama Wale entered the kitchen moments later. She stopped. Her hand flew to her mouth. Tears came before words. They checked the doors, the windows, the locks. Nothing was broken. Nothing was forced. No neighbor knew anything. No church member claimed it. No relative admitted involvement. There was no explanation, only provision. Papa Wale returned quietly to the guest room and knelt again, this time not to ask, but to thank. Years later, the family would still speak of that morning in hushed voices, not with fear, but with reverence. It became a reminder passed from parent to child, from testimony to testimony, that God still answers prayers, not always loudly, not always immediately, not always in ways we can explain, but always faithfully.